Hello everyone and welcome back to the final chicane with me, Kristen Boylan. So in today's episode, it is our first Zoom interview of the year and I'm talking to Aimee Gibbard, a design engineer for RedBull Racing, about basically everything to do with her career, her advice for other people who want to get into her career, her pathway, what it's like being a woman working in engineering, and what it's like working with RedBull and the positive environment that she finds there. Hope you enjoy. Hi, Aimee. Welcome to my podcast, The Final Chicane. For anyone who doesn't know, Aimee is a design engineer for RedBull Racing. To start, you just want to maybe give a brief explanation of what your role is as a design engineer and what sort of responsibilities that entails.
Yeah, so firstly, thanks for having me, Christine. It's an honour to be on your podcast today. So my job as a design engineer, I get involved in a lot of different tasks. So I work in a group called Project Engineering. So we basically cover everything that doesn't have a home, is how we describe ourselves. So obviously, if it was a suspension part, it'd get designed by the suspension team. But there's all sorts of parts that are required to keep everything running smoothly that aren't necessarily easily homed within the team. So my main responsibility is within pit equipment and garage equipment. So I work primarily on the wheel guns and the wheel gun release system that we have at RedBull. So as all the teams obviously have to do pit stops, that's my main responsibility. And then I also get to do all of the garage installation, so all of the pretty panels you get to see at the track. And I also do some work on the simulator as well.
That's quite an impressive area because RedBull are like sort of renowned for how good their pit stops are. So you actually play quite a big role in that as well, and everything to do with the garage.
A lot of
I would
pressure,
take
especially after days like yesterday, but
I would take complete credit for that if I was you. What
I would
does
love to, but I definitely can't. We have a great team.
yeah, you really do have a great team at Red Bull. What does a sort of day to day look like for you? Because I know it's different for everyone who works in motorsport. Some people might be 9 to 5, some people might be weekends and busiest during the breaks, and some are busiest like throughout the year and have time off during the breaks. What is your position in that?
So my days all look very different, and that's what I love
Yeah.
about my job. So the main thing for me when I was deciding what area of engineering to go into is that I didn't want something that felt the same every day. So I wanted something that kept that variety. So originally I actually went into R&D testing. So I was a gearbox test engineer at the start of my career. And then I moved 6 months ago into the design office. So on the day to day, like I spend most of my time on my computer designing components. But I also get to do a lot of data analysis. So I analyze all the pit stops from the weekend and look at where we could have maybe done better, where we've lost time. And then I spend a lot of time over the road chatting to the mechanics and getting like physical feedback, making improvements to the systems over there. So I'm all over the place. Like if I'm not on my desk, you've no idea where I'll be because I could be anywhere.
Wow. I love that. I think that sounds so interesting, and just to have a job like that. Wow. I'm
I
jealous. I
really
could
enjoy it.
never, I don't have the engineering sort of side to me, unfortunately, but I just find it so interesting how other people are like wired to know how all of that stuff like works and everything. I just think you're so interesting. So
Thank you. I think
you
there's so
spoke,
many jobs within Formula One that people don't realize exist. Like a lot of people think that you have to have an engineering background to work in Formula One, but
yeah.
it's just not true. Like there's so many roles within Formula One that can be fulfilled by so many people. And Red Bull do an event every year for International Women's Day. So it's just gone for Women in Engineering Day. And they do it every year and you can submit your CV and they will bring you along and you get to chat to people like me who work at Red Bull and talk about all the different roles. But like there's a role for everyone. Like people say, oh, I want to be a lawyer. And I'm like, well, we need lawyers. Oh, I want to be a doctor. Well, we have doctors that travel with the team. Like there's so many different roles that people don't even think exists.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's incredible. I know my cousin is wants to be a psychologist and she loves Formula One. I'm like, they probably need psychologists. Like they probably
We
need
probably
everything.
do.
So you spoke a bit before about how working with your dad when you were younger in his, was it a classic car like renovation sort of place? Was
Yeah.
the initial point that sort of sparked your interest into engineering? Was it sort of a like love at first sight with like mechanical work and engineering, or was that something that progressed sort of over the years?
It progressed. Like, I don't think, I think a lot about this. I don't think that I would have been an engineer if it wasn't for my dad. I wonder what I would have done. I'm not sure. But my dad was a single parent, so he didn't really have much choice but to take me with him to the garage on a weekend. And at first, like I was 8, I wasn't bothered. So I just
Mm.
chill around and do nothing. And then as the
Yeah.
years went on, I became more and more interested. And then by the time I was a teenager, I'd formed my own interest. I've always been interested in how things work. And I think that anybody you speak to who's an engineer will say the same. Like they love Lego when they were a kid or something like that. Like they like to know how things work. They like to make things. And I think if you've got that creativity, then you've got what it takes to be an engineer.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I read a bit about your time. Now I cannot pronounce English place names for the life of me. I feel like they just don't really look like how
I
they're
already know which word you're going
pronounced.
to go
What
for.
is it? Is it Loughborough?
Loughborough.
Loughborough. Okay, I
Yeah,
would
but it's spelled
never have
Luga
guessed.
Baruga, which is just equally as confusing.
I would have never have guessed it was pronounced like that. But I looked a bit up about that university and I saw that they have quite a good hiring from Formula One. Obviously, like Formula One have a lot, or Red Bull even have a lot of
Yeah.
respect, I guess, from the people who are going there. Was that and always like always that's where I want to go? And do you want to speak a bit about your time there and the Formula One student team that you were a leader of there?
Yeah, so I originally was going to go to America for university.
Oh,
I was originally enrolled on a scholarship program for the US. And I went out there for a week and was like, it's just not for me. Like I'm too far from home. I want to be near my sister. Like I didn't want to be that far away. So I then went, okay, change of plan. I'm not going to do 7 years in America to work in Formula One. I'm going to do 3 in the UK effectively. And I was chatting to my high school teacher, and he said, have you looked at Loughborough? And I'd never even heard of it. And he was like, I have a student who went to Loughborough who now works at Mercedes. Like they recruit heavily out of Loughborough. And I was like, and I went and I just loved it. Like it was just so for me. The campus is very Americanized. So it was everything that I liked about the American system. And it was just really lovely. The staff were really great as well because I didn't actually get the A levels that I needed to go to university. And like I spoke to the staff and was like, look, I've had a bit of a hard time. Like things haven't been great at home and this has happened and that has happened and is there anything they can do? And most universities were just like tough, like you didn't get the grades, but Loughborough came back to me with a real person and were like, this is what we can do to help you. And I think that just made all the difference for me and made me realize that like I mattered. I wasn't just a number to Loughborough, I mattered. So when I got to Loughborough, I'd already sort of set my heart on it and was so excited to be there. And then yeah, I joined the Formula student team in my first year, and in my third year, so after my placement, I became their first female team leader of their first electric car.
no.
So it was a really exciting time for me and a really exciting time for the team as well. And we have ended up with quite a few more females on the team, which I like to think that maybe I helped in a way, like maybe seeing a female there helped them think maybe I can be there too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so. I know if I was my main inspirations are the other women doing what I do, so I'm sure that you're quite the inspiration for the people trying to do what you're doing. And as the only female team leader, or the first one there at least, do you find that obviously being in a role as a design engineer and working in Formula One is often seen, unfortunately, as a very masculine thing, and sexism is very evident. I mean, it's changing now a bit for the better, but obviously it's still quite evident. Is that something that you have dealt with, like sexism and disbelief that you can do it just because you're a girl and has that satisfaction of proving anyone wrong? If you even had anyone to prove wrong, maybe that wasn't something that you experienced.
Yeah, I experienced it more when I was younger, but I do think I've been very lucky in that respect. Like I speak to some women who've had a really rough time. I had a few people when I was coming up through like lower category motorsports who just said like you'll never make it to Formula One, you can't take the banter. And it was like I don't think making references to my appearance is banter in my eyes. Like I was a, an 18-year-old girl, like you say, in an entirely male dominated field, thinking like I just want to succeed and having people comment on my appearance and how I looked, that wasn't banter to me. So I just dismissed it. And that was hard. Like it upset me at the time. And I thought maybe he's right. Maybe I can't make it. Maybe I can't take the banter, as they call it. But actually, I think it pushed me to achieve and it pushed me to think, actually, no, I'm going to prove that person wrong. And I'm going to prove to them that I can make it. I can take the banter and that I will go on to achieve. And I think that I am quite strong. And that's definitely played to my advantage because I'm very strict with my boundaries and things that I will accept and I won't accept. I like to have fun. I like to have a laugh with the guys, but I don't like to be, made the fool, made the one that they laugh at. I've been very lucky since I started at Red Bull. I've had a great time. Everyone is so supportive and friendly, and like everyone's just been amazing to help me integrate. And like it's never felt like my gender mattered while I've been at Red Bull ever. Like I feel just like one of them.
Yeah, and you have women in Red Bull like Hannah. Schmitz, is that how you pronounce her second name?
Yeah.
To look up to as well, one of my own inspirations, the strategist who's obviously incredible. Um, do you find that because I know just doing creating content myself, I find Formula One can be very demanding at times, and there's so much to keep up with, and there's always something happening, and sometimes you can just be overwhelmed in the sport. And I guess it's probably a whole different story actually working for it and being part of essentially potentially how the results turn out and everything. Do you find that it can be extremely demanding sometimes, and sometimes you might just need to say if you're not working, step back from the sport, or is it something that you just can't get enough of?
I think for me, it's something that I just can't get enough of. I think that that
Mm,
reward is the performance on a weekend. And obviously, I've been very lucky, touch wood, that so far in my time at Red Bull, we have been so successful
yeah.
that I've been able to relish that and really embrace the opportunity. But when I was here as a student, we weren't doing as well and we weren't winning championships. And I think we all just use that as like motivation to push you on. There are times when, you come home at the end of the week and you just think, I could not have worked harder this week, and you're knackered and that can't be helped. But I think the love of the sport keeps you going. And that's what most people who work in Formula One will tell you. Like they're so passionate about what they do that it
Hmm.
keeps you motivated. And we have a great supportive team. And, if I am snowed under, I have colleagues who will help and I can lean on, and we will share the work and we will do what we can to help each other out. And I think that's really important when you work in such a high pressure environment.
Yeah, I love that about working in a sport, how like not only do you get paid to do what you love, but also there's that sense of achievement as well, because when you win, it's a win for everyone. It's not just a win for the driver, it's a win for the whole team. So being part of that must be like so special, especially with Red Bull. When did you join Red Bull? What year did you get did you start full time there?
So I did my placements. My student placement was 15 months in 2019. So that
Hmm.
spanned into COVID, which was fun. And then I came back full time 2 years ago. So I've been back just under 2 years now, 2 years next week. No, 2 years last week. So just over 2 years.
Wow, congratulations to
Thank
you.
you.
So you've started working full time since they've been winning the championship. Do you think that's because of you, probably?
Obviously. No.
Obviously. I take credit.
No, they were very much so winning before I got there. But
Is the environment different, do you think, between how it is now that they're the team to beat and how it was when they were the ones fighting for that and the ones fighting to be the team to beat when you were, say, on placement earlier?
oh, interesting. I suppose, yeah, in a way. I think that like before a lot of our focus was on like chasing the people in the lead. So at the time, Mercedes, and trying to make all those gains and often not seeing that benefit. So I think Red Bull's always had this very nice atmosphere of being able to like feel relaxed in such high pressure environments. And I felt that even then, like even if we were really busy, everyone still had time for each other and everyone would be really nice and check in on your day. And, like really senior people within the team would just ask how I am. And it's just really nice and talk to me about problems with my car at home. And like everyone's always been super approachable and friendly. And I think that like that's only got better with the success we've had. Like the team are more relaxed generally because we are doing well and we can have more time to actually talk to each other and be supportive and think about our mental health as well as our health within the workplace. And I think that that's a nice thing to see. If that's changed, I'm not sure. I mean, it's hard when you're a student because you're quite young and you're not there full
Yeah.
time, so you do get treated a little bit differently, I suppose. But everyone's always been so great to me. I've always been very lucky.
Yeah, I feel like you can really see that environment and sort of the family vibe, I guess, of Red Bull racing team as a team from just looking from the outside. I think it's a very special place to work and a special place to be. Do you ever travel? I'm guessing you're more usually based at home. Where is it Milton Keynes? No, it's not Milton Keynes. Is it
Yeah,
Milton
no,
Keynes?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
where the base is. I don't
yeah.
know my English places too well. But do you ever have to travel with them, or is it more you can if you want to, but you're more at base at home?
I'm at base, which is what I wanted actually. Like a lot of people
Yeah,
find that quite surprising. They're like, "Oh, surely you want to travel." I'm like, "No, I think like if I'm traveling to the races, I want to go and enjoy them. I don't want to be working them."
exactly.
I've always wanted to be back at the factory. I've always said like, "Well, they're all out in the rain, getting rained on. I want to be sat behind my desk with a nice warm cup of tea."
Hmm.
So I'm quite happy with my setup. I have traveled to a few of the races. I've been lucky enough to go to Barcelona and Abu Dhabi with the team, but just as a guest, which has been really lovely and really nice just to relax and enjoy it.
I love that. Yeah. I think I'd be the same. I think traveling as a job would be very different because you're under so much pressure, and then actually physically having to travel while doing your job might be a bit of a strain, I guess, on you. Do you
Yeah, I
have?
mean it's seriously
Yeah.
demanding for the team. Like the traveling team spend more time abroad than they spend at home now because of the sheer number
Mhm.
of races. So it's really demanding.
Yeah. I mean, I was at the Barcelona Grand Prix just gone, and I am still recovering from it because I was just exhausted being there. I mean, I was creating content and doing some interviews, but just as a fan, basically. I can't even imagine not only like how the drivers do it, but how the team and the pit and the pit crew,
Yeah.
how everyone who actually has to go to that every week deal with
Yeah.
that. Because I'm genuinely still exhausted from it. I'm still catching up on sleep just from not even working there. So it's quite impressive. Do you have like I would guess that being a Formula One working in Formula One, working with Red Bull so early into your career is quite an insane thing. And that's like the place that a lot of people are trying to get, and that's where you already are.
Mhm.
Are you where you wanted to be, or are you working your way up to something? I mean, I don't know what the levels are, but a design engineer sounds incredibly impressive to me, and all of that. Do you have like still some other position that you're trying to reach, or just seeing where it goes and learning more as you go about what you potentially want to do in the future? Because you are quite young in this area as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even 26 yet, so I'm still very young and
Yeah.
very early in my career. I think a bit of both, really. I think that I don't put any expectation or pressure on myself to get a particular job title. Like, I just want to enjoy my job, and
Hmm.
to me, that's more important than my title. But that said, like obviously, I think everybody who works in Formula One has aspirations of where they want to end up, and I think for me, like in 5 years, I see myself being a senior design engineer, and then maybe in 7 or 8 years, I see myself being a team leader of one of the design engineering teams at Red Bull. It's funny because even at this age, like I just don't see my career outside of Red Bull. Like I
Hmm.
love what I do and I love the team that I work for and I just love Red Bull. I think they're just such a fantastic team to work for. So I can't see a life out of that now. Like you become used to what you know, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know where I would be in 20 years. I'd like to think that I'd be a chief designer, but like I say, I don't want to put too much pressure on a job title. I just want to enjoy myself.
Yeah, and that's all you need from a job, just to be able to enjoy yourself doing what you love. There is no need to be thinking, I guess, about the future, and just it is just important to enjoy what you're doing now and making that
Yeah,
moves and watching the team grow and knowing that you're part of it must be really special. Do you have
exactly.
a key moment so far, obviously early in your career, but do you have a singular moment that you look back on to this is like my dream and I'm doing my dream, that you've achieved something special like that?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few now where I've just thought, like, is this really my life? I mean, I do feel so lucky. The cat's going to walk across. Let me move her. I do feel so lucky to have achieved what I've
Oh.
achieved in such a short time in my career, and I know that so many people strive for it for so long. So I'm very fortunate, and there is a lot of luck that plays into it. 'Cause so many people do go for the same jobs with similar qualifications and similar backgrounds, so there is some luck that plays
Mm.
into it. But I remember when I was a student, like my first race win, and being stood in the debrief, listening to Christian after the race, and just thinking like I've done it. Like this is my life now. And it's a real surreal moment because then you go, oh no, I've got to go back to uni actually. So I've not done it. Like got to go back to uni. But yeah, that was a big moment for me. When I got to go out to Abu Dhabi with the team was a great moment because you just sort of think like this is my dream. This is what me and my dad talked about growing up. It was about me traveling the world with Formula One and I'm doing it. So that's a really exciting time. I think I just have those moments every week, which not many people get to say about their job. Like there's a point every week where I just think I'm so lucky and I'm so lucky that I get to do what I love.
Hmm. I'd say your dad is incredibly proud of you and of himself, I guess, for starting that interest and seeing how far you've grown with everything. Do you
Honestly,
think?
he'll tell anyone that will listen. Any bartender, he's like, "This is my daughter. She works at Red Bull."
Oh, I love that. That's so
He's
cute.
so cute.
Do you think? Because obviously the sport itself evolves quite a lot in the new regulations and changes. And obviously your role would probably evolve with that. Is that a struggle? Have you noticed like quite a big evolution even since you've started working full time in Red Bull to now, or even when you were on your placement there? And how have you like navigated that evolution of the sport itself?
Yeah, I mean, I sort of skipped the main regulation change. So I worked on RB 15 And then we had RB16, RB16B which is post-COVID car, and then RB18 was the main regulation change. So RB18 was designed while I was back at uni. So I sort of skipped that big regulation change, but we're seeing that happen now. So I worked in testing before, and I worked in testing up until 6 months ago, and that's when I got my new job as a design engineer. And we're already seeing the pressure that the 2026 regulations are putting on us, because as the pit equipment design team, as the garage design team, we have to adapt to the car regulation changes. And we're sort of like the last point of call for a lot of these things. So we have to wait for a lot of the rest of the car to be designed and finalised so that we can do our bit. So we know the pressure's coming and we're preparing as best we can.
Do you get to like relax during the summer breaks, or is that one of your more busier times? Or the winter break even?
Yeah, I mean, they've put in the forced shutdowns now, so we have to close over
Okay.
Christmas, and we have to close in August. So we always had to close in August, but they've added a Christmas one. I quite like that because it means that I can like
Hmm.
really focus on my family and spending
Yeah.
time with them and going on holiday and relaxing. Obviously, not having kids, having a shutdown in August can be expensive rather than if they had it in April. But then for people who have kids, they
Yeah.
need it to be August, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I saw a while ago that Red Bull have opened a paddle court, is it? I actually didn't know what paddle was until I saw all these drivers starting to play it. And I think that also shows like the environment that the team has, that they're happy for team building through paddle. So just as a fun question, I wanted to know if you had to play paddle against any Formula One driver, past or present, who would you pick?
Probably one that's never played because I am rubbish. I think I would want to play. Hmm, past or present? I don't know. Ayrton Senna was always my hero. So I guess if I could play anyone, it'd be him, just to chat to him more than anything. But we do actually. I play every week with my friends for work, but we are absolutely rubbish, and we've decided to scrap the rules off because they don't matter to us. If it's in the court, you're in. It's fine. Carry on. So.
Yeah. Anything with a racket and a ball, I'm a no-go. I can't play anything like that.
It's
I
so much
heard,
fun though. Like you say, it's just so
yeah,
nice to put something like that in. Like there's no benefit to Red Bull doing that other than for their staff. And I think that summarizes who they are as a team.
exactly, yeah. I think I was watching a video earlier on today, and apparently Max is actually bad at playing paddle, according
Oh,
to
really?
I think according to Daniel, he's not
Oh, I
great.
thought he was supposed to be really good.
They might be winding each other up. He goes through a lot of rackets, apparently, I think. Um, so just before I finish up, every week on my podcast, I do a riddle, and it's about a Formula One driver, past or present. So do you want to have a go to see if you know this week's one? It's okay if you don't, but I think this one is quite easy enough.
Oh gosh, okay. I'm ready.
Okay, I made it more centered to what you might know. So, moving to Europe, I made my start, winning in Britain with skill and heart. From Minardi to Red Bull, with a German I raced. A fractured shoulder didn't slow my pace. My first F1 win took many tries, 130 races until I lifted the prize. A determined driver who gave it his all, now thriving beyond the F1 wall. Do you know who that
Ooh.
is? I can give you clues if you need.
130 races before they won.
Hmm.
I don't know how many Mark Webber had before he won. Was it Mark Webber?
Yeah, it
That
was.
was quite a
Well
good guess, really.
done. Yeah, I had it as Vettel, raced with Vettel, but then I was
Yeah,
like,
that's the bit that got me.
yeah. Um, I probably should have done Daniel, to be honest. I think it's his birthday. I just saw that on Instagram. I was like, I'll choose
Oh,
a Red Bull driver.
I
Um,
appreciate it. Give me a chance. Thank you. Yeah, I got it when you said he raced with Vettel. I was like, it's got to be Mark Webber, but I didn't know he had that many races before he won. So there you go. I've
mhm.
learned something.
Yeah, that's what I do. I just do it to give a bit of random facts. So finally, before I let you go, I see a lot on your Instagram that you're very passionate about promoting the sport and what you do and STEM, and basically just to younger people that they can do whatever they want, and that women can be in engineering no matter how male dominated the field looks to them. How important is it for you to promote that and to let people know, and using yourself as an example that you can achieve what you want? And what, like, one piece of advice would you give to maybe a young girl, or even your younger self, who wants to do what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's so important to me. That's why I started my engineering Instagram page, because I think that not just women, but anybody who is passionate about anything should know that they can do it if they try. I mean, I always mention it on anything I do, but I come from, a single parent family. I come from quite a low income household and I did it. So why can't you is what I sort of always put the question as. And I think that everybody should be inspired to chase their dreams. And yes, I know that there's a certain amount of luck that comes with that. And I know I've been lucky to get to where I am, but I think that, you can create your own opportunities to a certain extent. So it's really important that any child of any race, background, gender watches anything like this that you're doing and just thinks, do you know what, maybe I could do it too. So that's the thing that's important to me. Advice I'd give my younger self is definitely don't be afraid to ask questions. And I know it's so cliche, but like when I was a student, I think women especially, we're so convinced that we're going to get judged if we don't know it. And we think that we've not just got to be as good as the men, but we've got to be better. And I spent a lot of my first couple of months just being like, because I didn't want them to think that I didn't understand. And like going back, I just think, I'd have progressed quicker if I'd have just said, oh, actually, hold up, I don't understand that. Can you explain it again? That's a lesson that I've taken forwards. And like, I will very happily ask questions now. Like I'm still very early on in my career, but I'm also quite respected within the workplace, but I will still stop and say, oh no, hang on, say that again, because I don't get it. And I think that gains you respect over just going, yeah, okay, yeah, I get it, if you don't.
Hmm. I feel like that is a very important point because I would definitely be one of the type of people to just sort of sit back and not show that I don't know something because
Yeah.
especially in what I do, even when I mention I don't like or I mention I do like Formula One to people or to men specifically, the one question is like answer this and answer that about Formula One.
Yeah.
You do feel like you have to know everything about the sport or else you're
Yeah.
not taken seriously. So you're held to so much of a higher standard than men. Like I don't think my brother has ever in his life been questioned or challenged after he said he likes Formula One. So it is a very different experience, and I think that is really, really great advice that I'm gonna take on myself. Just ask questions, and you'll gain
Exactly.
respect. And
Yeah, you will,
yeah,
honestly. You will. I think it's a hard lesson to learn sometimes. Like you say, you just want to prove yourself, but sometimes to prove yourself, you have to step back and reevaluate.
exactly. Thank you so much for coming on, Aimee. You're actually my first guest of this podcast season because I just finished college, so I had to push them all
Very
back
nice.
until here. But honestly, I couldn't have had a better guest. My voice, my words are getting all jumbled now.
That's all right.
On you're incredibly interesting, and I know that all my listeners are going to find your story and your advice incredibly interesting. Have a good
Cool.
rest of the year and hopefully a successful one with RedBull.
Thank you, Christine. It's lovely to talk to you. Good luck with the podcast.
Thank you. Lovely to talk to you too.